Don't talk about it, be about it. Which means don't just play video games, but create video games. This is going to be great and wild stuff here with the Scratch. So let's go ahead and get set up for our lesson today. To get my lesson set up, what I want to do is open up this in a new window so that I have the actual YouTube window opened here, and I want to pull this tab out and separate it from the rest. So whatever video I'm currently in right now, that goes on the right hand side of my screen, and on the left hand side I'm going to be doing my work. So I want the work window to be as large as possible, taking up about 3/4 of the screen, and my video window taking up just about 1/4 on the right hand side of my screen. This way I could watch the video as I'm doing the work, and I'm not going to shortchange the menus and the items that I'm going to be selecting on my work window. So go ahead and do that now. Now that I have my windows situated and I'm ready for work, I can scroll back over to my Scratch window. So I used my hyperlink on the Google Classroom to find the Scratch window. And I'm going to scroll over here and I'm going to create an account. So I'm going to join Scratch. So click on Join Scratch. And down here, I'm going to choose my username. So I want to keep it as consistent with the BASD username as possible. So go ahead and put in your last name and then your first initial, your middle initial, any numbers that you have, the handle of your email address. And the handle means everything before the @ symbol. So when you say @BASD, take off @BASD and just use that handle first and try to see if that username is not taken already. So I'm going to do that now. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a student's name so that you can see exactly how it goes through on your end, not on my end. So I used Stella's name here, and at the end I'm just going to go ahead and try to use a password. But look, it says sorry, that name already exists, so I got to go back up. So if your name already exists as your handle shows on BASD, because right here would be the @BASD. Well, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is just add a number, which is my graduation year. So for this particular student, the graduation year is 2025. And then I'm going to try to use that number. And you see it doesn't give me the warning symbol, so you know that it is a valid user address that you can use. So use that. So just in case we forget what you're supposed to be logged in as, we will be able to determine. I will be able to help you get signed in. So we're going to choose a password here, and again we want to use our BASD password so that we are sure that we are going to be able to get logged in and we're not going to forget it. So let's go ahead and put in your BASD password. That is big BASD and then your number, and we're going to get signed in. Confirm the password and hit next. On the next screen, it's going to ask me what my birthday is, and you can put in what your birthday is. It doesn't really matter. Put it in right there. Select your gender and your United States code. Go ahead and select those and hit next. Now, if you are on the young side of your age group, you might need to put in your parents' email address, and if you know what it is, you could put in your parents' email address right there. But if you don't know what it is, you could simply put in your own BASD email address right here. So go ahead and fill in the email address and select next. Go on the next screen and we are into Scratch. And what we need to do is create a new Scratch document. So we're going to go over here and click on Create. As with any document, the first thing I want to do is put a name on it. So instead of untitled, I'm going to double click it up here and put in Drive. So I'm going to put in the word Drive. That's going to be the name of this project. Over here, you'll see a bunch of different things, and you'll see tiles. They are very similar to the code.org tiles of moving and turning, except you get to determine how fast, how much, and all sorts of other variables that you can change on these motion blocks right here. You also have the looks for costume changes and all sorts of other effects and size difference. And then if you scroll down further, you have the sounds down here, and then the events. As you see, as I scroll this bar all the way down here, as I get to the next item, it actually lights up. So I'm going to be using a bunch of different things as we go along, and so you'll see how I create that. Now over here we call this the stage, and this is where things take action. So we're on the right hand side of the screen here is where this guy will be moving. So if I move the sprite, which is my character right here, he will move on the stage, and I'll be able to see how that works. Right here in the center is the script log. So when I pull out a motion, I place it over here, and this is where all the actions are going to take place. So I can organize my tiles right over here. Now if I need to get rid of some tiles, just like in code.org, I click, I drag them back to the pane, and they delete from the script window. So this is the script window. These are where all the actions are going to take place, or where I organize those actions with the tiles. Down below is where the sprite or the background takes place. Okay, so down here we have the character that's on my stage right now, and that's the thing that's going to take the action of the script. Okay, so down here is going to be taking the action, and over here is the stage or the backdrop, which will just be a background image of which your sprite will take its action over top of. Okay, so we'll be using both a new sprite and a new stage in this project. We can get rid of sprite number 1 right now by clicking the X over here, and it deletes my character out of the stage window, and I will create my own new sprite as we go through here. If at any time you need to leave this lesson before you are done, you have to hit save now. Okay, it saves every so often, but you might have to hit save now before you log out. So go ahead and click save now. So it's now time to paint my own sprite. So I'm going to create a character to actually move here, and if I go to the lower left hand side, you could see that cat that I already deleted. That's the face of the cat right there, which means I'm going to create another sprite, which we call sprite in this software. But I'm going to actually paint a new sprite. So that's this little paintbrush over here. So I moused over it, selected paint, and as you can see, the tab changed from code to costumes over here, and I have a canvas out here which is ready to be painted on, and I'm going to use these materials as my utensils to actually draw with. So I'm just going to start off with a square. I'm going to draw a car with the front end of the car facing to the right hand side of my screen. So I'm going to start off with a car, and I'll just make a block. So I'll select the square, and I can choose the color from this area right here. So I'm just going to start off with, I'll just do the standard purple, and I open it up and I put it on top, and as you can see, it already entered into my stage area over here. So I created a square because it's overhead view of my car. Now I want to create some windows on top of my car, so I'll just select a white box for that. So I could just select it by scrolling this way right here and creating the white, so no matter what color I'm on, actually, as you see, it actually changed the color of my sprite as I was moving here. So that's another option to create. But let's just say I don't actually want to change this one. I want to create another box. So I'm going to deselect it. I'm going to click anywhere in the background right here, and then I can make it white so that the next color will be completely white. So I'll go over here, I'll select my square, and I will paint a square in the front and a square in the, actually this is the front and this is the back. Okay, then I'll also put in a hood ornament. So I'll just select a new color, and I'll put a hood ornament on my car so that I know that this is the front of the car. Okay. Also, I want to make sure that it is centered on my screen. So to select my car, I need to go back to the selection tool right here. As you see, I mouse over, it says select. I click on that, and I can click on my car like this, and I can move the whole car around. Now you see this little crosshair in the middle of the screen. That's going to be the center of my sprite right there. So I just center it up so that when I turn it, it turns by the center of the car. Now you don't have to make this car fancy, but I'm going to add some extra wheels to it. So I'm going to put my wheels in. I'm going to click the line over here, and I see the outline color is black. So I'm going to go ahead and create a line over here on the car. Once I have that line, I can use the selection, click on the line, and thicken it up, because right now the line is only 1. Yours might say 2, 3, 4, I don't know, but you can just click on it and continue beefing it up until it looks like the right size that you want it to be. Once I have one of them done correctly, I can just duplicate that more than once. So I click on the tire, I hit copy, and then I could just hit paste, and it pastes the new one in. I could drop that right there. I could hit paste again, and then I can flip this vertically, horizontally. As you see, it's bowed out just a little bit. Yours might not be bowed at all, it doesn't matter. I'll click, I'll put it on, but I can flip things the way you see up here. Flip horizontally, flip vertically, whatever I need to do. And again, I'll copy and paste that last one here. Copy, paste, and it drops in another one. Put that in the front of the car. All set. So I'm looking at my sprite here on its stage, and it's taking up a good portion of the stage, probably 1/8 of the size of the stage. So I'm going to actually shrink down my car. So if I click on it on the stage here, I can move it around as a complete unit right here, and then I can go down over here underneath where it says to the size, and instead of 100, I can make it 75%, and you see the size of the car actually adjusts. And so I could just make it any percentage of the original drawing that I made so that it fits in better. So after I'm done, I might want to adjust that again, but this is a good size now for my stage. And now it's time to give my sprite some action. So I'm going to start writing code for my sprite. I come over here and I click on code in the upper left-hand side. And I'm going to start off with some motion just so you can see how it's going to move. So I go over here, I say move forward by 10 steps, and I could say turn by 15. So if I tell it to move and turn, every time I click on this script, it'll actually move and turn. If I only hit the move, it's going to go forward, hit the turn, put them together, click on them, and it moves and turns all at once. Now I'm going to ask it to start when I click on the flag. So I'm going to go to events, and then when I click flag, it's going to start doing the motion. So it goes once, and when I click on the flag, it's going to go once. It's going to run one time through, so I want to make that a forever so that it continues to go forward. So I could also go to control and say forever, drop that underneath my, and then it puts those in between, and now when I click on the flag, it will actually start to turn around in circles. And that's cute, and I could see how that would start and stop like this, and I could see how it moves around in a circle, and that's fine. But what I really want to do is create a script where when I press the key on the keyboard, it moves forward. So those will be my controls on the keyboard. So to do that, I don't want to tell it to move right here. I'm going to take that out and just drop that back in. I'll come back to that later. What I would like to do is do a control for an if-then statement. So if I press a key on the keyboard, it's going to move forward. So I drop the if-then into the forever, and I'm going to look for a sensing option here. So a sensor could be the mouse, could be the keyboard. In this case, it's going to be a special key. So I could drop the key, and you could see the key, these tiles are actually shaped where they might be able to be fit in. Okay, so when I press the space bar, what do I want it to do? Let's say move forward. So move forward when I press the space bar, and then I'm going to start the script. It stays lit, and I come over here, and now when I press the spacebar on the keyboard, it actually moves forward. I could reset it, move forward, and you can see how as I press the spacebar, it moves forward. I'm going to try to give the directions of this car to be the directions of the arrow keys on the keyboard. So instead of the spacebar, I can just adjust it to be the up arrow. So the up arrow will be forward now. So if I use the keyboard, I click on my car and I hit the up arrow, you'll see he'll move forward. Down does nothing, left key does nothing, right key does nothing. I need to program those keys as well. So here's what I'll do. I'll come back over and I'll use another if then. So control, if then, drop that underneath. It needs to be on the same level as the other if, okay, because I don't want it if then, only if I'm pressing the up key to something else to happen. I want it to always be the down arrow makes the car go backwards. So I'm going to select the key instead of space. I'm going to drop the down arrow, select the down arrow from the list, and it's going to move. But when it moves, instead of going positive 10 to move forward, it's going to have to go, that's right, negative 10. So I could do negatives and positives here. I go to negative 10, and now when I create my, go back over to drive my car, press forward, it goes forward, and if I press the down arrow, it moves backwards negative 10. So it's going back and forth, left and right arrows still do nothing. Now I'll show you how to expedite this process ever so slightly. So if I want to copy and paste this group of tiles right here, which I will because I need to do my left and right arrow, I can right click on the if. So if I right click or if I hold down the control button and click on the if, it will ask me, do I want to duplicate it? And I can say duplicate, and it will actually duplicate that if then statement. So now I have a new if then. I could drop it into place, and now it's in my forever, and I created another one. So now I have a group of if then statements here, but of course not a down arrow. If I wanted to turn left and right, I take out the move and I put in the turn. So if it's turning right, as you see here, the arrow is turning right, I can say right arrow turns right, and of course left arrow turns left. I could also do the negatives and positive option as well, but it's just simpler if I just do the turn with the left and the right arrows here. So now driving my car around, if I start my script, I could go forward, reverse, turn left, turn right. Forward, reverse, turn left, turn right. Using those arrow keys on my keyboard now. So right now I have a car that operates on the keyboard, okay? Operates with the keys on the keyboard, the arrow keys on the keyboard, as you see here on the script. But what I want to do now is create a track for my car to drive on. So to do that, I go to the lower right-hand side into the backdrops. So in the lower right-hand side, I'm going to create a new backdrop. So I'm going to mouse over top of the choose backdrop, and this will be stage over here, okay? So we have a backdrop, and we're going to paint a new backdrop, select the paint, and it brings me to my painting window over here. And what I want to do is paint the entire backdrop. I want to start off with green, a green backdrop. So I'm going to go to a color green. It'll be the color of grass, I guess. So I'm going to pick a nice color green, and then I'm going to come out here and go from top to bottom the entire window here. I'll click in the upper left hand side and just create a huge green backdrop, the entire screen. And as you can see, it changed my backdrop behind my sprite over here. Now I need to draw the roadway for the car to go on. So to do that, I'm going to go to the paintbrush, and I don't want the paintbrush to be set to 10. I want it to be set to 100. So change this number right here so that it's a nice thick line, and I'm going to use the fill to be a gray. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to saturation, go to gray, and now you see the circle on my screen turns to gray, and now I can create a track. I'm just going to go around and around in a circle here to create a track that the car will be able to drive on. Okay, so I make twists and turns, and you can see so that the track will be followed by the car right here, and start and stop at the same spot so that the car has somewhere to drive. Okay, if at all I get too zoomed in or I could zoom back out so that I could see the entire stage at once. And as you can see now, the stage is set and my car seems to be a little bit too large. So to change that, once again, I click on the car and it adjusts so that I'm talking about the sprite down here, and I could just go and change the size. So this would be a percentage of the original. I go to 50 and it's still a little too big. So I could go to 25 and now it's a nice small car for the track. I could drop it right over top of the track and I push forward, reverse, left and right. You see it's a little wild. It's very difficult to drive. Many of you might find it difficult to keep on the track. So what to do about this? Well, I'll show you. So it's going too fast, so I scroll over here to change up my code, because now I can make adjustments to my code so that it goes a little bit slower. I could change this to be an 8, I could change this to be a -8, or reverse never goes quite as fast as forward, so I can make that a little bit slower than the forward by. And then depending on how much my car turns and how well I'm able to adjust it, I could keep the turn. See, so now it's slightly easier to keep track of, but you might even need to slow it down even more. Okay, so feel free to make adjustments so that you can keep your car on the track. You could change the turns, or just change up these numbers so that it's easier to control your car. So once you feel like you've made the necessary adjustments so that you can control the car rather well, you can now call Mr. Brzezinski over to get graded, because you get graded at your seat. So you can call me over by using the help card and I will go ahead and grade you. But what I want to see is that you know how to drive forward, reverse, left, and right with your car so that I can know that you have done the project correctly.